just disgusted.
That sucked.
What was that?
Kevin just fucking smashed the door. That's not acceptable.
Fucking hell. He's not fucking doing that to me, you know?
First up, Hamilton criticizes lack of diversity in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton has made his anger clear regarding the costs of junior racing and Formula One's lack of diversity. The six-time world champion has said in the past that working-class children had no chance of making it into Formula One because they are leapfrogged by rich kids, an argument which Sebastian Vettel has supported. Recently, British racing driver Oliver Rowland said he was pissed off with drivers like Hamilton who spoke out about the situation but then did nothing to help. But Hamilton has again spoken out about the issue, as well as a lack of diversity in Formula One. In an interview with Style magazine, he said, quote, "I've never had a quitting mindset, and that's part of the reason I'm where I am today. But there have been many difficult moments. I remember coming home from school, super excited to go karting, and my dad having to tell me that we didn't have enough money to go that week. The other kids at the track didn't have those worries." Hamilton believes the lack of diversity flows throughout Formula One, and it stops children in the UK from believing it is possible for them to make it into the sport. Next up, Russell to take advantage of rusty drivers. Williams' George Russell says he wants to be ready to take advantage of the rusty drivers around him when the 2020 season begins. F1 is currently on hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but championship officials have begun to lay out the groundwork for potential return with a series of behind closed-door European rounds, starting with the Austrian Grand Prix on July 5th. With a potential minimum 5-month window since drivers last drove their cars during preseason testing, and 7 months since their last race competitively, Russell reckons the hiatus will hit drivers incredibly hard, physically, when they get back behind the wheel. But if the Austrian Grand Prix does indeed kick off the season on July 5th, then Russell wants to be in the best condition possible to take advantage of the drivers around him who will be rusty due to the lack of track time. Speaking on the new F1 Nation podcast, he said, quote, "The lockdown just gives myself the chance to nail my fitness even more, but I think for all of us, it's going to be incredibly hard. You can train as much as you want, but you obviously lose race fitness." The Briton is using the current lockdown period to maximize his peak fitness in the hope of benefiting from any struggles his rivals may have during the opening rounds of the 2020 campaign. Next, FIA visited Racing Point Factory. The FIA has visited the Racing Point Factory to examine and compare the designs of the RP20 with the 2019 Mercedes W10 after the complaints we saw in pre-season, where they showed very good performance with this car. This meant that rival teams were gearing up to protest in Melbourne before the 2020 Australian Grand Prix was aborted, and Renault has since said it has not ruled out a future legal challenge. The team's technical director, Andrew Green, explained how the FIA inspection was. He said, quote, "We don't really know what the ground is that they are thinking of protesting about. When the car launched, we talked to the FIA about it. The FIA came round to the factory and looked at what we'd done and the designs of the car. They even took the design data from Mercedes for last year's car and checked it against ours. They did a thorough check and they're completely happy that the car that we've got on track has been designed by us." The RP20 caused a stir in pre-season testing due to its close likeness with the 2019 W10, which took Mercedes to double world title success in 2019, with some paddock insiders dubbing Racing Point's car a clone and a big Mercedes. Lastly, F1 and empty tracks better than nothing, says Ocon. Esteban Ocon concedes that Formula One races with no fans will create a very weird atmosphere, but it's better than nothing. The opening 10 rounds of the original 2020 season have either been postponed or cancelled leaving Formula One with the task of trying to piece together some sort of schedule for the year. Holding multiple races at the same venue with no fans allowed seems to be the most likely option, and while Ocon knows that will create a very weird atmosphere, he thinks it is important that Formula One returns to the TV screens for fans. And that's been today's video. To keep up with Formula One news, please hit that like button and the subscribe button, and follow us on Instagram at FantaSteiner. Apart from that, we hope you enjoyed the video, hope you have an awesome day, and until next time, goodbye.